Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing the brake pads and rotors and whatnot. This is the tools that you're going to need. I'm already actually done, so this is at the beginning of the video. This is what it looks like on the rear and on the front. Shit's gorgeous, but these are the tools that you need, or what I used. This is to get the wheel off, but you definitely need a breaker bar, flathead, these guys to push the front caliper in, these guys on the front caliper too to keep one of the bolts still. I use these to cut my zip ties. You don't need wire cutters really. Torque wrench, you'll need a 21mm socket, obviously whatever kind of wrench you want to use, a T27 Torx, a 13mm socket, and then an M14 triple square. And that'll be all you need. I recommend having some parts cleaner, or brake cleaner, whatever you want to call it, shop towels, Loctite, and that's about all you need. And jack stands. It'll be a lot easier to do on a lift, but I did it here in my house, probably like 2-3 hours. I've never done rotors before in my life, and I've only ever done rear pads before, so 3 hours, not bad, first time. And enjoy. Today, obviously, we're doing brake pads and rotors. Yeah. So we got the EBC yellows here. We got Stoptech slotted rotors. There's a stock. I'll go ahead, because I already did the other side, so I kind of know what I'm doing before I show you. This is what it turns out like on this side. Looks pretty fucking sexy in my opinion. Anyway, let's get to it. I guess before this clip I'll show you what tools you need. I'll do that at the end of this and then just throw it at the beginning. But first things first, brake torque on your lugs, jack it up. Now we'll take the wheel off and get started. Get back to the rotor here. The only difference between the two sides on the front is that one of the pads on the other side has a sensor on it, and that pad goes on the inside and it plugs in like right back here. It's just a really short, you can't miss it, it's impossible to hook up. But yeah, so here first we'll do, oh look, it's missing, wow. My rotor key's gone. That's no bueno. Well, that's not supposed to happen. That's a problem. Well, we'll assess that at another time. But now that that's out, we'll do the caliper bolts on the back. Real easy. It'll be this guy right here, and then the corresponding one down here. I do believe it is a 13mm. Pop these two off, then you'll be able to take this, and then I take a zip tie and zip tie it up on the spring. Alright, so you will also need a pair of needle nose, I forgot about that, to hold on to this inner bolt down here. You'll see when you go to take it off, it's going to spin. You just need to hold it still. It doesn't take much torque. Alright, I'll do here. Pop this baby off. Yep, zip tie it through the bottom. Alright, so in doing this, you definitely want to keep the pressure off of the brake line here. That's why I'm hanging it up, that way there's no tension on it. And we'll push this in last. That's the caliper piston. We'll have to push that in. It's real easy. I'll show you guys that here. Probably the last thing we do before we button it up. But yeah, here we are. Boom. Pads just kind of pop right out. They've got these little clips in there. But really, you don't need anything. Maybe you might need a flathead to kind of pursue them out, but you can see how worn my pads were. Look like shit, especially when you lay it down beside a yellow pad. The difference is it's huge. So I'll go ahead and pull this other one off and go to the next step. That's where the caliper presses on the pad. dirty. Alright, so next up is these two bolts here. Number one, number two. It's the only two that are holding this caliper carrier on. It is very, very, very tight. It is a 21mm socket, and if you're on a lift, this will be a lot easier, but I'll have to stick these on here and then put my leg under the car and kick this loose. They torque to 147 foot-pounds to tighten it, or 200 Newton meters, whichever you have on your torque wrench. But regardless, this shit is very tight, and it's not the easiest thing to do on a jack stand. But and this is the most labor-intensive part of the front brakes. So, okay, so now that they're loose, you'll want to take the bottom one out first, and then the top one, so it doesn't fall to the ground. We'll take it off. We'll clean it. And throw the new rotor on. One extra thing to note here, so once you get this caliper carrier off, the rotor pretty much comes right off. If it's tight, you'll want to stick a wheel stud in there and just kind of hit it with a mallet until it pops loose, and then that nut will hold it, or the bolt will hold it there from falling to the ground. But the caliper set screw, or whatever you want to call it, it can get rusted over time. So if you live in somewhere that has like a lot of salt or whatever, you want to be very careful with that, because if it strips, then you're gonna have a bad time. So just be careful with that. And yeah, we'll clean up this caliper carrier and throw the new rotor on. Brake cleaner is your friend here. Alright, so you go ahead and set your rotor on. You'll put your set screw in. Obviously, I don't have mine, so I'm gonna have to hold it here with my knee and go ahead and grab this caliper carrier. Grab this, have your bolts ready. These are the big ones. Once you got that on, should look something along these lines. This is nice and tight. Well, this should be lined up accordingly, but once I get the pads in, it'll help stabilize it. But for now, we're like this. Like I said, these bolts here on the back for this caliper carrier go to 147 foot-pounds. I'm about to knock that out now. It's not very fun, but after that, everything's easy. All right, once you get your two bolts back here tightened wherever they are, yeah, this one and that one, very tight. It's kind of a pain, but I have faith in you. You can do it. Next step is to push the piston back into the caliper and get the brake pads in. So before you do anything with the caliper, you'll want to undo your brake reservoir real quick, because fluid's gonna have to come back up in there since you're pushing the caliper in. You're pushing fluid back into the line. So anyways, I'm gonna unclip this here in a moment, but I'll show you. So there's the caliper right there. And if you see this little notch right back here, this is the perfect spot to get some leverage. So using these little guys right here, these cheap little motherfuckers, and put one side on the caliper, or on the piston, and this back thing on the little post that's here, and just give her a good squeeze and she'll push right in. It takes a little bit of effort at first, but it'll go down. Just give her a good squeeze. See the piston going down. I want to get it about even with the seal, and boom, everything looks good. Another thing you want to check when you're putting these back on is make sure that these seals are, there we go. You want to check these seals right here, make sure they're covering, because they can pop off. That happened when I was cleaning it. Just make sure that those seals are on. And like I said, I made this nice and flat, even with this seal. Boom, you can see. And yeah, now we'll put the pads in and then throw that baby back on, and then we're done for the front. Alright, so before putting the pads on, a little caliper grease. It doesn't take much. can use this one packet for all of them. So. This is pretty simple. They only go in one way, except for you got these clips. They don't really do much but keep pressure on the pad to keep them from chattering. So you'll kind of want to stick them in clip side first. Give it a little bit of pressure. Boom, there you go. You do the same to the back side. Alright, so we got the pads on. Real nice like. Next up, we will cut that zip tie, and then we'll do the piston side on to the rear first. So we kind of slide it on the back and then pull it forward, you know, like so. You'll see. And then you'll stick your 2 bolts back in. I believe these are 13 foot-pounds. Don't quote me on that one, but not very tight. Volkswagen does recommend to replace these. And as you can see, there's some Loctite. You should definitely Loctite them. So, do that. Pretty easy stuff. Should slide right on. Get that top one in, and you'll have to hold that bolt again. Remember, once you get a little bit of torque on there, they'll start to turn. So, at that point, I'll just go to the bottom. Alright, and that's that. That is your front caliper replacement. I'm going to go ahead and spray all this down again with brake cleaner. And I got some fingerprints and such. You might be able to see, and then just clean off I got some of the caliper stuff up on there. But we'll clean this off and then throw the wheel back on. And I'm going to go do the right rear before I show you guys how to do the left. Number one reason why it's good to have a junk drawer full of just nuts and bolts and all types of stuff. I went through there real quick just to see if I might have something, and voila, there's a 4mm Allen. It fits perfect right on there. Mind you, the other ones are going to be Torx bits. I believe they're a T25, whatever this is, T27. But yeah, very happy. Now my caliper isn't all retarded. Or my rotor. Very nice. Good work. Alright guys, this is how you deal with the rear brake stuff. Let me turn this back on. You have to have an Android phone to use OBD11. You'll go into apps and down to, okay, there it is. It's under brake pad replacement. Alright, I already have mine set to open, so I opened them. Alright, so now we want to close it. So read all this shit, blah blah blah. New brake pads fully assembled. Turn ignition on and use close function to close calipers. The LED and the parking brake switch. Boom. So you do that. We'll go down here. We will close it. Hold the button. You can hear the brakes going all crazy, and you're done. Easy. So you just do the opposite when you want to open it. So the beginning, and it costs I think 10 credits or something. Yeah. So I had a whole bunch. Easy stuff. Also, since you're jacking up the rear, even because you have the parking brake off. You know, the electronic parking brake, so make sure you have your wheels chalked with something in the front, so when you're jacking the car up, the car doesn't like slide forward or something. Yeah, don't forget that. Like I said, there's only 2 real bolts that you gotta worry about. Of course, they're on the back side of the caliper, and it's one of these M14s. This is what you'll need. If you don't have this, don't try and do the job. There you go. This is what it is. This is what you want. Triple square, 14. That's pretty much what you need mostly, and then you need your T27 to get the that bolt out for the caliper. flathead. You need this to cut your zip ties. You need zip ties. And then of course your caliper tool to push the baby in. This goes on there, and you twist this, it pushes the piston back in. It's not like the front at all. I don't know how you would do the rears without having this kit. You can get them at like AutoZone or something. I rented it for like $100. I take it back, get my money back. So nifty little shit. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys the rear bolts you gotta take out. Okay, besides my ugly face, these two bolts, I can barely reach them. This one and this one. These are the two you gotta take out. Once you get those off, which they're a pain in the ass, they're really tight. You just take the whole, get my camera out. You just take this whole assembly off, pull out your brake pads, and yeah, the rotor comes off the same way. Leave your pads up, stick them in, good to go. So now you get to watch me struggle doing it. Alright, when we got our two bolts out, boom, this baby should slide right off with a little bit of force. I'm going to pop the pads out, clean it up a little bit, then I'll show you guys how to use the tool and push the caliper in. Those bolts are kind of hard. I was using the breaker bar kind of and doing it from the top. I'd have to, once I get one click, I would have to like take it off, move this a tooth, put it back on, and do it until I was able to get it hand tight. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but once you get the gist of it, it's real easy. It takes like, I don't know, that time lapse lasted maybe 5 minutes, and yeah, so simple. And we'll pull this baby off. Kind of walk it out, boom. I use a double zip tie method for this one. Hold it up with my knee. Just get a couple teeth there. Just on this. Boom. Like I said, you don't want any tension on, because now you have your electronic parking brake cable and your brake cable to worry about back there. So double zip tie, good to go. Now from here, there's your brake pads. Boom, nice and warm. Damn, this one's real bad. You can see all the pad dust up in that corner. We'll play with that when we get it out. Just a flathead on either side and just pop them out. One side will have a spring. The back side has a spring at the top. I'll show you. That's the only real difference between the two. All the way down there, twist. All the way down there, twist. Boom, pops right out. Sucker number one. This is the one that has the spring. Just come behind it, give her a little pop. Boom. There's the spring I was talking about. So you can see where the piston sits on the back. Easy stuff. Here you can see these pads have slots, and so do the new ones, and all the dust that gets stuck down in there. It's pretty wild. These ones are pretty bad on this side, actually. The other side wasn't as bad. All that grime that gets up in there. And compare it to the new ones. The wear difference on the inside pads. It's pretty wild. Okay, so the next thing you're going to want to do is pop this little guy off. Try and be careful. I don't want to scratch my caliper, so I'm trying to be extra careful with it. Once you get one side, the other side pops right out. Sorry it got dark there, I don't know why I did that, but yeah, screwdriver, just pop this baby out. It only goes in one way. Sits just like that. Simple. Alright, so now for the caliper, this is the size that works for me. Short two prong, whatever. Grab your base. This kind of just slides through here. Pop that baby on, and then we'll tighten it up against the caliper and show you guys how to do this. Alright, so this is a two-piece system. The part where the zip tie is over here in the corner, and this, like these two are two different pieces. So these move in and out. Alright, so you'll want to pull it out a little bit. Grab your tool. You'll stick it in here. Boom, just like that. You have to fiddle with it a little bit. Get it behind everything. So now the prongs on this, you'll want to line up. There'll be little holes on the caliper or the piston. And then you'll tighten this baby up by turning this so it puts pressure against the caliper or the damn piston. Keep calling it caliper. All right. You get that nice and tight. You'll just start turning. Whoop. Well, I'll loosen it up. There we go. Okay. And you'll feel it when it's in. Well, I mean, you can see it too, but you'll really be able to feel it. It's like a soft click, kind of like the oil cap. Like, it's not hard to press on, but you'll see this is almost level with the whatchamacallit. Yeah, we'll clean this all up back here. We'll lube up the brackets for the pads here. Pop this rotor off. We'll be good to go. Next up, grab your Torx bit T27 here and pull this baby off. Don't lose it. Makes life a pain in the ass if you don't have it. Boom! Simple as pie. Clean your rotor down nice and good. Mine's covered in brake fluid and now my dirty hand grease, but I'll spray her back down again here in a minute. Get your key lined up. Hold them to the hub here. And boom. Putting these in is pretty much the same as taking them out. Not really. But you'll have your little spring doohickey at the top. Make sure your reds are both facing inward towards each other. The front, there's no spring, just the wings to deal with. Remember what I said, the reds face each other. So you want to get that in there. Slide old girl in. The retainer, kind of just, I'll pop one side in, boom, like that. Oops. Now we will cut the zip ties here right quick and finesse this baby on. Make sure you have your bolts handy. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I couldn't show you exactly when putting it on because I don't have enough room or any place to really set the camera here. But you kind of just wiggle them on and give her a good couple taps here and it'll pop right in. And you'll just line up those bolts again in the back. I'll show you one more time where everything goes. Let me pop up the screen here. Right there, you'll see the first bolt and the second one. Just kind of line them up. You can see in here, just barely, where things go. And you'll just stick your two screws back in and tighten them babies down tight. Tight, tight, tight. Alright guys, all done. You just tighten those two bolts on the back and you're good to go. That's the end of it. And then put your wheel on, of course. But here we are, finished project on this side. Well, it's almost time for the Super Bowl. I got like 45 minutes to get showered, go take this toolkit back. Luckily, where I'm going to the Super Bowl party is literally right across the street. So, shout out to my homies. So, I need to go get a shower. I'm filthy. I will let you guys know in the very near future how these brakes perform. It says, I'm gonna link down. If you're doing this with the EBC reds or yellows, you need to watch this video. It's from Stoptech. They go over like the real break-in procedures for these pads, and you need to do that. So basically you gotta drive 100 to 200 miles and do some really hard braking to set the pads. So over the next few days, I'll be driving around town a lot trying to waste mileage or get mileage on these pads. Whatever. My intercooler will be here tomorrow, Racing Line intercooler, and another set of RS7 spark plugs. So stay tuned for that. And we got autocross next Sunday. So hopefully I'll have the intercooler and these brakes set in and should be a really good time. I hear the track setup for next week is gonna be freaking so good. So yeah, make sure you give this a thumbs up if you liked it. It's probably gonna be a bitch to edit, but I had a really good time. Only took me like maybe 3 hours total with some breaks and shit. So yeah, yeah, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing all the DIYs for everything on this car. I raced the shit out of it. It's a manual, you know, 16R, and yeah, catch you on the flip flop.